Welcome back to the Fitness League, helping busy humans build strong bodies, sharper minds, and better lives. Join us each week as we cut through the noise, challenge the norms, and empower you to train smarter and live longer. Today, we are diving back in with a Q&A episode. Every Thursday, and we did just switch the date. It was Fridays, but it seems like Thursdays tend to be better engagement. We're not tapped into the weekend already. So every Thursday going forward, we hit these Q&A episodes. Some of you have asked where the Qs come from. If you're not in our Facebook group, that's where it lives. As of right now, I just post the morning of recording day. Everyone can throw their questions into that thread. You guys have been crushing it with great questions. Hoping we come at this episode with some heat, with some fire, with some enthusiasm around some topics based on our pre-recording meeting. So to dive right in, Kayla asks, what are your thoughts on eating healthy and also finding balance with homemade desserts? I'm someone who has always loved dessert, and it doesn't help that I love to bake. I'm back to tracking macros and want to make sure I'm eating majority whole foods, but don't want to restrict myself. We were joking, Kayla. It's kind of like you answered your own question within the question, the way that it was worded. So our thoughts on eating healthy and finding balance with homemade meals is kind of shifting the words there, just finding balance with those homemade desserts. And that sounds overly simplified, but there's so many levels you can take it to. And depending on what these desserts look like, and depending on what the rest of your day looks like, there's varying degrees of being concerned about this stuff. And I would even go as far as to say, like, especially if you love to bake, you can get really freaking creative with whole foods, things that are quote unquote better for you, good for you, tons of nutrients, and make them delicious. Like, I was going to put up a post. I didn't because, as usual, we're short on time. But like, my favorite meal right now has been my protein smoothie and then these special oats that I make. So I just do, today I've been hungry because we're doing a little bulk here, so appetite's going up. So I bumped up my oats to 100 grams, doing the oats with a splash of maple syrup, some cinnamon, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, and that is weighed out. That is not the I hope this is actually 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. And I typically do a cacao powder, but I ran out of that, so I have a dark chocolate bar. I think Endangered Species chocolate is the brand. 88%, which is an acquired taste, getting to that level of dark. So I'll break up one little row of that, like literally like one singular row across the top. It's like a sixth of the bar. Crumble that, and it is something I look forward to every single day. And when it's gone, I get very sad. But here we are. Little things like that, like I consider that dessert. Like, that is so good to me. Then you do have the sweet tooth of the chocolate. The protein smoothie is, it's the tri-berry blend frozen from Costco, and the coconut cream protein from Legion, and then I'll throw in some spirulina and some creatine, and we're good to go. Tons of nutrients. That whole thing is like one giant dessert, and I'll use that as a pre or a post workout.
Yeah, like you said, I think Kayla almost like answered her own question in this. We're never going to make you choose between, healthy eating or homemade desserts. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It's both and. So I think exactly what you mentioned in your question about you're back to tracking macros. You want to make sure you're eating the majority whole foods, but you don't want to restrict yourself. You answered your own question there, my girl. Keep tracking macros, keep eating majority whole foods, but no need to necessarily restrict yourself on the homemade baked goods.
No, not at all. But one thing we've been talking about a little bit, and then we'll keep cruising because we've got a bunch of great questions today, is there's a lot of times where Alessandra or I will make a meal for us, typically dinner. And like, if you take those whole foods and you get creative and like just make them delicious, we're not craving dessert as much. Like, sure, it's fine to go enjoy the sweet tooth, and we do that. We'll go have an ice cream night once in a while, frozen custard, whatever it is, take the kids out and go. But a lot of times, like, damn, that was fucking good. And I don't have a craving for the other thing. I'm full. That was delicious. It is what it is. And then maybe a little bowl of cherries or something for the fruit dessert we'll throw in. But yeah, guys, it shouldn't feel difficult to thrive on whole foods is kind of where I'll leave it. Is you can make some really, really delicious things if you get a little bit creative and put in a little bit of effort. Not a lot, just a little. All right. Katie says, would love to know how Joelle and you all met and got into working together. Would love to hear the backstory. I wish Alessandra was in for this one.
I know. I was just going to say, I wish Alessandra was here for this. I mean, it all started back on Instagram. To not bore everyone to death with like all of the craziness of the stories, although Alessandra likes to joke that Josh thought I was gonna like kill her in the woods or something when
Oh, that wasn't a joke. That wasn't a joke.
when we first met. I think we might have talked about that on like our first merged episode
so.
of like announcing things. But basically, Alessandra and I met on Instagram years ago. We kept in touch. We just kind of like always chatted through Instagram. And then eventually it was like, hey, like, do you want to come like actually meet in person? I think I went to you. Did she come to the city first or did I go to you first?
She went to you guys first because that's
Okay,
why I
so
was
she
super
came to the
steeped.
city first. We were living in New York City at the time. He like dropped Alessandra off. And I think we went and like, we went out to lunch or something and just hung for a few hours. And then you picked her back up. And then the next time I think I drove out to you guys, which is like such a funny story along with that, but we'll save that for another time. Do you know what story I'm talking about?
Yeah, where you almost got for the
I
same
almost
reason.
got like sex
For the
trafficked
same
to
reason, I was
Malaysia.
worried about her going to you guys. That literally almost happened to you, not from us, but from story number 2.
There's such a crazy story. We will have to tell this one time, but it won't be right now because it could take an entire episode. But basically, me and a friend essentially got like scammed into like training celebrities into Malaysia. And we definitely almost got like sex trafficked into another country. And like it was down to like show us your passport, like book your flights, like this crazy scam. And just all of that was unfolding and happening while I was visiting Josh and Alessandra for the first time. So they're probably like, who is this girl?
Which completely
What an
validates my
idiot.
feelings on the first meeting. Oh, you're internet friends? So you want to go meet an internet friend in New York City?
Oh my God.
So this is when I went to I met up with one of our other partners in another business. He was, I thought, right down the road, but apparently even being 10 miles away in New York means you're about an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
So
Well,
would've been
now
a
me
little-
and him live really close, but
Yeah.
but at the time we did not. So anyway, I went there and then it just kind of became this back and forth. Like you guys would come to visit, I would come to visit. Then like, obviously we started having babies. We started getting the kids together. And somewhere in there, Josh and Alessandra and another partner, like business partner had started a business. As I was saying that, I was like, Josh, Alessandra, and another partner. I was like,
our
wait,
throuple. We had a throuple.
wait, that
So
might
weird.
sound weird.
It was a weird open stage we had for a while.
It's not an open marriage. They basically started a business together, and then I was brought in to be another partner in that business. It was kind of like pitched to me somewhere along the line. I was like, hey, I think this could be really cool. I think this could work out. And so that's when we had started Fit Coach Pro, which is our software that we white label out to other coaches for coaches to run their client management software through. So anyway, we started working on that business together. And just grew to love each other as friends and business partners and families. And the beautiful friendship just grew from there.
Yeah, I have long made fun of the internet friends, but here
And
we
now
are.
my internet friends are literally my best friends.
Best friends, business partners, relying on each other for a lot of things in life. And we do have a
Internet.
couple guests on their way to the studio, getting set up.
Oh my gosh, it's a guest appearance.
Episode saved. But yeah, so
Okay.
it was Brant. I think I mentioned something like on your guys' way out the door, like literally, like a half something in regards to Fit Coach Pros. And I think Brant texted me back later in the group text. He's like, were you guys like serious at all about that? I'm like, yeah, I think so. And then I think it all snowballed from there. And then as far as coaching and Project B, we like to dream big over here.
Yep.
And
And it's even more fun to dream with your friends.
it's more fun to dream with your friends, and some things just they needed to fall where they fell in order to be able to move forward the way we wanted to move forward, which was not necessarily expected, but it's been cool. It's been a struggle, it's been a grind, but it's been worth every blood drop, tear down the cheek,
Yeah.
sweat down the face.
So it started with internet friends, turned real life friends, turned business partners in one business, turned business partners in a second business, turned business partners in a third business.
turned. If one of us dies, we're all fucked now that we're in this spider web.
Turned. Who's gonna run this ship when we all drop dead of radon?
Yeah. It's actually, I checked it before we walked in. It's down to 1.05, which
Wasn't it at like 200 something? How could it
100, 100.
Still, how could it drop that significantly?
So we installed, they did have the pipe, luckily, which made this all much easier. Would have cost us thousands if they didn't, but I don't know if it was code, but they put in a pipe that goes under the slab of our house and goes up, vents out the top of the roof. So all we had to do was cut into that pipe, install a fan, and it starts sucking the air from under the slab. So rather than seeping into the house, it pulls the radon straight through. I also had to seal some cracks in the basement, so where a lot of it seeps in.
All right.
There's a special caulk that you throw in there, seals it up, and
we might survive this episode.
We might survive this episode. We're in a good place. We're very blessed. We're lucky we found it. We got a great neighborhood. Luckily, a neighbor brought it to our attention. Thank God.
Great neighbor who told you.
Yeah, and I was telling I told a handful more to get tested. Like, Kai's had this ridiculous cough for going on 3 or 4 months. We brought him in, checked him. They said, no, it's, they've been lasting that long. But it's like, is this we've been living in this for a few years at this point. Like, is it irritating his lungs? So
yeah, like when you're living
scary.
in mold and it's just like slowly festering.
Yeah. Yep. It's scary. So a lot of things that you don't realize you're supposed to do as far as keeping up on house and things like that. So for those listening, check your shit, test your water, test your air. We're doing all these things to be healthy. And if we're slowly getting poisoned, then it's not doing much good.
And don't fall for anyone who tells you they want you to train celebrities in Malaysia.
Yeah, don't do that. Oh my gosh.
One day I will tell that story. I'm too embarrassed to tell it.
So I won't tell your story, but one thing I was so blown away by Brant with, like right from the get-go, I'm like, this guy is so much better than me. You called him like at that point in time as it's happening, and he's just like, yeah, we'll figure it out later. Just go ahead. And I'm over here like, what? I would be freaking out. And he's just cool as a cucumber. Absolutely. Do what you got to do. We'll figure it out later. And I was impressed with that man from the start. Thank
you. He is my number one support for sure. So if there's something that I want to do and I feel strongly about, he's like, full send. We'll figure it out. Like 100% the biggest hype man. So we love him for that. But yeah, I'm glad that it didn't end up going that way.
Figure it out
Never
later.
Why isn't you again, honey?
Why isn't she answering my phone anymore?
It's over. And that's how Joelle was kidnapped.
Hey guys, real quick. If you've been listening and thinking, I need to start doing something for my health, but I don't have time for a full program, that is literally why we built the SDE Method app. It's a fitness app made for real people with real lives. Busy parents, working professionals, anyone juggling 100 things. You can get a smart, effective workout in around 30 minutes, some even closer to 20 minutes, and log out knowing you made progress. You can finally take the guessing out of your workouts. We have workouts designed to be done at the gym or at home, and you get access to all of them when you sign up. As life phases change, you can pick a new one that aligns better with what you have going on right now. And one more thing, we are also qualified for HSA FSA reimbursement. So just hit the app link in the show notes, start where you are, we'll help with the rest. All right, let's get back to the show.
Anyway.
All right, we'll skip over, as she gets set up here, some Alessandra intertwined questions and jump to Daria. I've heard you discuss timing for pre-workout. Is there a specific time to take creatine? I usually mix mine with my pre-workout. Creatine is the magic supplement where it really doesn't matter when. Once you get saturated, you're saturated.
Anytime, as long as it is daily. That means even take it on your rest days. So you want to keep those creatine stores saturated. It could be pre-workout. It could be post-workout. It could be before bed. It could be in your morning coffee. Doesn't really matter as long as you are taking it daily.
Look who we got here. What's up, Wes Colby?
Hello, little man.
We're going to have to make do. Your first podcast awake.
Yeah,
we'll see how long we last.
Charleston's like, she's not coming. She's got to feed Wes. And then, like, he's up. And I was like, have them come down. Let Wes do a wake window with us.
Yeah, but he's been cranky. We'll see how he is today.
You like his 3/4 sleeves?
I do love the 3/4 sleeves. What a vibe. Hey, yo. He's like, what is this?
You sound like a bulldog, buddy.
Sorry.
It does sound a little like Cal.
Joelle, are you taking creatine right now? I know you
Yeah.
were debating. You're back on it.
I'm back on the juice.
So being relatively new, how do you feel the first, what has it been, a month or so? Month or so?
Yeah, so I like it. I mean, I always feel a little bit of a difference when I am off of it and then I start taking it again. I always do
Right.
see a difference in my performance. And just muscle fullness, like seeing more water in the muscle, which like that's really what's happening. Like you hear water retention in creatine. It's not like bloating water retention. It's like water retention in the muscle. The muscle is storing a little bit more water. So I just find that my muscles will end up having that fuller look, which like great. I could use all the fullness that I could get.
My first creatine load in high school, my mom asked if I was on steroids, and it made me so happy. So happy. I missed
I
that.
remember the first time I ever started taking creatine regularly, I benched 135 and I was like, I thought I was just so cool. And I was like 22 and 95 pounds and benching 135 though.
That's impressive. Wes is staring me down. I love you so much, buddy. For those of you who can't see, my son is staring across the room.
Because he's on the creatine. He's getting some.
He doesn't eat. That dude is yoked.
I'm saying I'm
Look at him.
taking
He's
so
ready to
good.
throw. He's ready
You're
to
on
throw hands. Look at him. He's like,
Always. I'll give him
Say
a
the wrong
kiss,
thing,
and
Dad.
he'll do a slow left hook right into my beard.
Good time.
all right.
Let's scroll back up here. All right. Hey, guys, got two questions for you. The first one, I heard Alessandra mention she drank 2 doses of electrolytes during pregnancy, 3 doses of Tren, and that this helped with swelling and other things. My question is, when did you or when would you recommend to add that second one in? I didn't see that part when I said Tren. What was the second one?
The second packet of
Oh, the second
of
packet.
Electrolyte packet.
Josh is kidding for anyone who is not used to listening him joke.
If you're a new listener,
No, but I do take at least 2 packets of Element while pregnant and breastfeeding. And even just like in the summer months when I'm running a lot, sweating a lot, does that mean you need to? Not necessarily. If you're somebody if you're pregnant, your hydration needs do increase throughout pregnancy and while breastfeeding. So hydration is not just water, it's water and your electrolytes to keep that in balance. So if you're not getting enough electrolytes from food sources, supplementing can be beneficial. We're lasting one question here. So that's why I take at least 2 during pregnancy and while breastfeeding. But it's individual and it depends on like what the rest of your diet looks like. If you're eating mostly whole foods and not a lot of ultra processed foods, then supplementing likely will benefit you. But if you're somebody who is consuming a ton of ultra highly processed foods, do you really need to be taking in more sodium? Probably not. So it is definitely an individual thing, but that's why I increase during pregnancy and breastfeeding.
I will also just add to that. I am no longer pregnant or breastfeeding, and I still use 2 packets a day. Full disclosure, I suspect that I might have POTS, which means much higher sodium needs. But I have very, very low blood pressure. And if I don't have a ton of sodium, I am very like fainty. So I keep my sodium supplementation fairly high. So yeah, a lot of it does depend on your own personal needs. I am not running a bajillion miles a week or getting super, super sweaty. But I just do well with high sodium. So
that was a game changer for me. Like your creatine load recently was my sodium load like a couple of years ago whenever Element got introduced. Performance, energy, like the full blend. Something that a natural practitioner recommended as we were working on getting energy back, and it made a massive difference for me. So Jaden's second question. Do you have any tips for adjusting your mindset to new goals or even setting new goals for training during pregnancy?
Yeah, I think that's a common just struggle. I think we touched on this a few episodes back. When you are somebody who does set a lot of performance or aesthetic based goals and then you get pregnant, it can be like, well, I don't even know what to focus on right now. You can still set performance goals during pregnancy. You might not be like crushing new 1 rep maxes. I mean, maybe some people are, but I would say, just even something as simple as I want to strength train 4 times per week throughout my pregnancy. So like something like a frequency goal, or just, committing to implementing a specific exercise that feels good and progressing through that through a certain block. It's going to be, of course, individual to you, but just because you're pregnant doesn't mean you can't have goals. It's just they're going to be different than before. And that's really, what kept me going is just committing to X amount of weeks for strength training, committing to at least wow, I cannot talk today, 2 cardio sessions per week. So just having that general focus, because that allowed me to be flexible. So if there were weeks or days where I wasn't feeling cardio, I could push it to a different day. And it still gave me something to train for. And then, of course, just like thinking about the aspect of everything that you are showing up for throughout pregnancy is only going to make postpartum recovery that much easier, is like, that's really what drives me every single time. So I would just, keep that bigger picture in mind rather than the smaller things. But I mean, if there are some smaller things that you want to progress in for each training block, I think it's still important to have a couple focus areas there too.
Yeah, I think shifting to performance goals, and even like, I know this doesn't sound that exciting, but even maintenance goals of like, I'm just trying to maintain the muscle and fitness that I have built pre-pregnancy so that I also have better labor outcomes, better delivery outcomes, you know, better, quicker, faster potential recovery postpartum. So I think it's great to have a performance goal, or even just an adherence goal of, no matter what, I'm going to lift 3 days a week, or I'm going to lift 4 days a week, or I'm going to work on my pull-ups during pregnancy, or I'm going to work on my squats during pregnancy. It really can be whatever you want, but I know it does feel like you have to make that shift from aesthetics and fat loss into, okay, what are the other reasons that I should and want to work out? And then
All
lean
right.
into those.
Sarah asks, did Josh or Joelle either one have to go gluten-free during their healing phase or stay gluten-free long-term? See a lot of mixed information about the effect of gluten for gut health, especially when dealing with inflammation. Have GERD, LPR, and gastritis on top of my doctors suspect is lupus, and I'm overwhelmed by all the conflicting information.
Yeah, I was gluten-free for a while when I was doing some stricter protocols for gut and hormone health. Gluten was one of the things that was eliminated. But when you are doing an elimination diet the right way with a practitioner, the goal is not for those things to be eliminated forever. There should be a reintroduction period. So I am no longer gluten-free. I seem to tolerate it just fine. But there was a time where eliminating it was a part of my journey. And I mean, the truth is I eliminated a lot of different foods at that time. So it's hard to say which were the main contributors. And I think that's something that a lot of people see, you know, maybe they eliminate eggs or gluten or dairy, like all at the same time. And you're like, okay, maybe I do feel better. I do have less digestive discomfort, but like, which was it? So I can't entirely credit gluten-free to like part of my healing and recovery, but it was a part of my journey.
Similar process. I was gluten-free for a very short period of time. But again, it was in the midst of horrible gut issues. And as soon as I introduced it back when I was able to, it didn't make much of a difference. So difficult to say if that was the thing. But yeah, very short period. Back on it now. I have no issues with it.
I also, Sarah, if you have not met Coach Ariana on our team, she's one of our registered dietitians that specializes in gut, hormone and autoimmune disease. She might be a really great person for you to chat with, either with like a power hour. You could just shoot her a DM. You could do a power hour consult. You could do coaching with her. She herself is entirely gluten-free. And I know she works with a lot of clients with autoimmune diseases. And there is some sort of correlation between being gluten-free for autoimmune health and thyroid health as well. So I'm sure she'd be able to give you a ton more information there too.
Madison has 2 questions. The second one's a little quicker, so I'm going to throw it right your way. Is the Powerlifting Program coming to the app?
Yes. I'm gonna go ahead and say yes, just because I did throw up a poll, if you guys missed it, on Instagram last week when because I know whenever I post my training, people are gonna be like, well, why aren't you doing builds anymore? Will you drop this in the app? And I love that you guys just want to do what I do. It humbles me. But I think we got like 200 at the end of the 24 hours. It was up to like 200 and something people who wanted the powerlifting program. So the people have spoken. You will see it, probably not for June, but soon is what I will say.
Our goal is to get not necessarily an unlimited number of programs into the app for you guys, but a variety of programs. So being able to check every box, regardless of experience level, time available, equipment available, specific goals. We're going to have some things in there for all of those, and I will leave it at that. Her first question was, I'm skipping the, okay. Question is, when is it better to prioritize a full night's sleep, knowing how important this is versus a workout? She was just explaining some backstory. Can't always get the 7 hours. So when is it time to sleep in? When is it time to work out?
I think we've all kind of changed our stance on this. I think you guys were also at one point of the similar belief of like, oh, if you get less than 7 hours, like just don't do the workout. It's not worth it. You know, like, right. You have to earn it via sleep. I know I for sure had that mentality for a while. And I think you guys probably too. And then enter parenthood. Where you don't always have the luxury of like a perfect 8+ hours of sleep uninterrupted by a dog shitting on your floor or a child waking up and needing you.
I will say your guys' sleep scores have been impressive lately.
Thank you. It's the lunar.
Mine, they're
It's
only
the
good.
drugs.
I'm still waking up, but they're good. Like I said in
Steroids.
Monday's episode,
Sleep like a baby.
it's that first chunk of sleep. Like, yeah, I'm still waking up to feed him at some point between 3 and 5, but it's because I get that good first chunk that gets me my deep sleep and REM and all that my sleep score is good. So it's still interrupted. It's still broken. It's still not ideal, but it's pretty good because I prioritize that early bedtime. But, yeah, my opinion to answer your question, this was Madison, it's going to kind of be like an individual basis. Like if you're regularly not getting a ton of sleep, like, yeah, maybe we want to work on some things there that we could have control over. But at the end of the day, like you don't want to not exercise if just because your sleep isn't like at its peak, most optimal level. Right?
I
You
thought,
have some thoughts on that, buddy?
yeah, Wes is like, no, I need more sleep. Thank you. Yeah, I think in most cases, I have a hard time believing that choosing exercise will do more harm than good. That's the best way that I could put it. Like, yes, sleep is absolutely so important. We should prioritize it as much as we can. But if you didn't get a perfect 7+ hours, I don't think that automatically means you didn't earn it, don't do it. Especially because if we think about the downstream effects of poor sleep, like Josh, you were talking about the other day on the podcast episode, like a poor night of sleep and how that can affect cognitive functioning. A poor night of sleep can also severely impact insulin sensitivity. Well, if we think about what exercise does, it greatly positively influences insulin sensitivity. So I very much see exercise as something that could be counteracting the fact that we maybe didn't get a good night of sleep. So I just have a hard time believing, especially in this season of life, that choosing exercise is the poor choice. Like, yes, we absolutely, and I'm not saying deprioritize sleep, but I am saying you might not have a perfect night of sleep. If you got 2 hours of sleep, you're probably not going to feel like working out that day. If I got 2 or 3 hours of sleep, I was up all night for whatever reason, I would not be choosing to train that day. But if I got 6.5, woke up feeling okay, knew I had to get it done today because I was going to be traveling this weekend or wouldn't be able to get it done later, like I'm going to do it. So I think it's probably situational. But in most cases, I would say exercise is still going to be beneficial, even if you're tired or even if you didn't get a perfect night of sleep.
I would shift to give a general sentiment. I would say 6+ hours full send. If we start creeping below that threshold, maybe split the difference. Maybe if it was going to be an hour, sleep in for half an hour and train for half an hour and just do the damn thing in some capacity is the route I would take. So we will leave that one there. Lauren says, 38 weeks pregnant, been following Muscle Mommy and loving it, but wonder as labor approaches, 41 weeks with my other two, how you'd maybe scale intensity, etc., to not be sore, fatigued for labor, but still wanting to remain active and lifting until baby arrives.
Sorry, drinking water. That is a great question. I love that you are so pregnant and doing muscle mommy. You went 41 weeks with your other two. Okay, so you potentially have another 3 weeks. For me, the end of pregnancy just kind of became, I would scale as needed. Like the term auto regulation is what stands out in my head, which is basically the fancy way of saying, scaling and adjusting and modifying based on how you're feeling. So if you get to 39 weeks, 40 weeks, and you still feel great, keep doing what you're doing. I don't necessarily think that you have to scale. The weird, awkward part of those final few weeks of pregnancy are like, might be today, might be in 3 weeks. Should I go all out on my squats today? Or like, do I taper things back? But I always found that I just naturally, like the few days leading up to labor, I would say those like final few weeks, I would always get a second wind and feel so good in the gym. And then the final few days before labor, something would shift in me that I would just feel like, oh, I could just tell today's not the day to like go all out. I don't know, Alessandra, did you have a similar experience with that? Like, I feel like my body just knew, like the final few weeks felt great and strong. And then like the final few days were like, my body just knew, and I trained all the way till the end. But I would say somehow it ended up that with both of my pregnancies, like 2 or 3 days, like I probably hadn't trained 2 or 3 days before when I went into actual labor.
Yeah, mine was that day. So like if you guys missed the birth story of Wes, it's on here on the podcast if you scroll back. But that day I was so stressed because Josh was sick, and like my mom came and I was just exhausted because we weren't sleeping well because I was so stressed that he was sick and might potentially miss Wes's birth. So I like literally laid on the couch that entire day before I went into labor. But leading up to that, I'm definitely the person that's just like, go big or go home. Let's see how much we can back squat. So it really does depend, and it really is a day-to-day thing. I'm glad you said that, Joelle, because it truly changes so much day to day. Like some days you'll have the energy to squat and exercise and clean the whole house and do all the nesting things, and then the next day you're like dead to the world on the couch. You don't want to do anything except watch Titanic in my case. So
That was
Pray.
the movie of choice.
and pray.
Because I was upstairs locked up with
Quarantined.
COVID, and that was her opportunity to watch Titanic because I was not
gonna
about
watch
to sit through
Titanic
3
is
hours.
one of my favorite movies, for the record. So it was on.
never knew that.
It like came out on Disney Plus the week that Wes was born. So I was like, this is my opportunity to just watch
meant to
it.
be.
Yeah, it was perfect. So
That's so
All right. I am tapping out. I'm going to take Westman. Joelle, if you want to take over. Callie is
Sure.
up next.
Callie. Where are you? Here you are. I'm 8 months postpartum and a mom of 2. Since having both my boys, I've been doing all the things, strength training, nutrition, etc. However, I've developed what I think is an allergy to eggs and any type of fish. The second I eat it, I'm down for the count. The pain in my upper stomach is horrible to the point I'm curling up in a ball for hours. My doctors won't do anything about it. I've done all the tests. They can't seem to find anything wrong and just keep prescribing me meds for heartburn and indigestion. Is it worth fighting with my doctors anymore, or just completely avoiding eggs and fish forever? I used to eat both foods all the time and I'm just at a loss now. I just want to know what's wrong with me since I'm doing everything to be healthy as possible and I feel horrible. Has this happened to any one of you or your clients before? Callie, have you seen an allergist? Would be my first question. So this is where there's a weird, like someone might have a sensitivity to something. They might have an intolerance to something. Is it a full-blown allergy? You said you've seen doctors or your doctor. I'm not sure if that just means like your PCP. I'm not sure if they did actual allergy testing. So I'm wondering if like you got allergy testing, but it didn't come back as an allergy. So they're saying like, there's not really anything we could do if it's not an allergy. So that would be my first follow-up question is like, have we seen an allergist? Did this actually get allergy tested? And I don't mean like a food home sensitivity kit because those are shit. But have we actually gone to an allergist to see if this is an allergy? This directly hasn't happened to me, but I've definitely had food intolerance issues in the past when my gut was not in a great place. And there was kind of like what we talked about before with gluten, like an elimination period and then a reintroduction period at different phases of that.
Yeah, I don't have much to add besides what Joelle said, just confirming that it's a true allergy first. I haven't experienced that either. And I've been pretty lucky to not like, I don't know if it's different. Like when you hear people talk about breastfeeding and babies being allergic to like dairy or, the very common allergens, they don't test your baby, right? You're just looking for like, or do they?
They can test their poop for a milk allergy. I
Oh,
think we had one of our
interesting.
kids tested for that, maybe Sloan, because she had a ton of stomach issues, like
Mm,
digestive issues when she was born for like at least the first 6 to 8 weeks was brutal. She had like terrible reflux. And I went through the gamut trying to like eliminate things that were possibly causing it. Nothing I eliminated seemed to help
changed
her.
anything?
And I think they wanted a stool sample from her, and they checked her for like a milk allergy through my milk, but through her poop, I think, but it was negative.
Interesting. Yeah, I always wondered how that worked because I mean, you hear about it all the time, like
Yeah.
just babies being extra fussy when you eat certain things, and I don't know. I mean,
And there's so many mixed things of people being like,
yeah,
it doesn't work to eliminate. And then other people being like, no, I swear, like
it
when I
changed
eliminated
my
this, it got
baby.
better. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
So,
know. I don't have much insight for that. But if you have not seen an allergist, Kelly, that would be my next step for you for sure. But if you are feeling awful when you have those foods, I would avoid them, at least for now. Jordan said, semi piggybacking off of this week's episode of sleep versus train, if you're coming down with a head cold or congestion, something where you don't feel knocked out, but something is lingering, advice on pushing through versus resting. I think there are probably times where resting is important, but times where continuing movement is also just as beneficial. Scale back intensity, reps, question mark. What are your thoughts on this?
I'll go first because I know you have lots of thoughts. I think the golden rule we've all referred to in the past is like neck up. You're kind of okay to power through and maybe decrease intensity, decrease volume, walk, do something a little bit different. But some movement likely is still fine as long as you feel up to it. Anything below the neck is likely a rest day and you want to recover as fast as possible. So pushing training is not going to help you there. With that said, and she kind of said this in her question, it is definitely an individual basis. You kind of have to assess like, and I think most of you know your body at this point. Like you'll know when you start working out, like, can I push through? Is this helping me feel a little bit better? Or is this making things a lot worse? And Joelle, you guys went through the ringer as far as like daycare sickness and always having something. So I think at the same time, we don't want to just not exercise at the sign of any little sniffle. But you kind of have to assess like, what is this? Is this going to contribute positively to my health or contribute negatively to my health?
Yeah, depending on the situation and depending on what I am feeling and where in my body I am feeling it, like congestion or my throat or something like that, I'm typically pretty conservative with this in terms of like, if I feel something coming on, I'm like, bed early tonight, sleeping in tomorrow, automatic rest day for me tomorrow. If I feel that like something might be coming on, because I know in that situation, and I have done this to myself time and time again, and now it is just like a learned thing for me, where if I felt that something coming on and I woke up anyway early, cut sleep a little bit, did the early morning training session, pushed through it, pushed hard, by that night I'm sick. Like I'm full blown sick. But I've had other instances where I get in bed early, take some extra supplements of, vitamin C, vitamin D, some extra, immune support supplements, get that extra sleep, take that training day, take that rest day and feel fine the next day. So, that's where I say like, I'm a little more conservative with if I feel something coming on now, I'm like, I'm just going to take the rest because I'd rather take one extra rest day than push myself over the edge and need a week of rest days because I didn't want to listen to my body and just slow the hell down for a minute. So that's typically the route that I will take depending on what feels like it's lingering. Yeah, that's what I would say there.
Yeah. And I mean, the neck up rule too is like, if you have a migraine, obviously you're not going to be working out. So you kind of have to, it depends what it is. Like if you just have a little
Yeah.
cold and some sniffles, you're probably fine to push through.
Or like
But
allergies right now, which are so
exactly.
bad, where you're like, am I getting sick? Or like, was this just because I spent a lot of time outside yesterday and like now I'm sneezy? So if I do think something is going on, if I'm not taking a rest day and I am going to choose movement because I feel okay enough to do that, and I don't really think that what I have is going to be a full blown sickness, I will just taper intensity typically because I want to make recovery capacity really, really easy. So I'm not going to do anything in that situation that is going to make recovery harder. So I might get in some light movement, some blood flow, take a walk, like maybe get some reps in just for blood flow. But like that's not going to be a PR workout. It's not going to be a HIIT workout. It's going to be something that's going to be really easy recovery.
Listen, if you're tired of the all or nothing cycles, the diet starts Monday, the I know what to do, I'm just not doing it feeling, we should probably talk. Our one-on-one online coaching isn't just about workouts and meal plans. It's about building something that actually fits your life. No cookie cutter templates, no guilt, just real coaching and real results. Plus, we've got a pretty big team, so we can even pair you with an expert who actually understands your lifestyle because they've gone through it too. If that sounds like what you've been missing, check out the link in the show notes to apply for coaching. Then we'll send you the link to book a free, no obligation consult call with our team. There are no hard closes. We won't even take your credit card over the phone. You'll get the details to sign up on your own time. And more good news, we are in fact qualified for HSA FSA reimbursement. One last thing, we even offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. What are you waiting for? Spots are limited, so apply today. All right, let's get back to the show.
Yeah. Let's see. Curious about the best post-workout breakfasts, Amanda asks. Very much struggling to eat in the morning. I'm a 5 a.m. workout person and I am able to get a protein shake down mixed with creatine post-workout, but I don't feel like that's enough for breakfast, especially after a workout. So first and foremost, love that you're throwing down the protein and the creatine. That is what I do as well. I typically walk in the door from the gym, slam a protein shake, and then I get the girls up and ready. So I'm kind of like, let me at least get the protein and the creatine in and I'll come back for a meal later. So I do that very similarly, Amanda. What you're definitely missing in that is some carbohydrates. So I would say if you can't do it right that second, if you're in a similar situation where you're like, I got shit to do, I'm going to come back to have a real breakfast in a minute, then come back to it. But even if it's like, can you throw down a go-go? Can you throw down like a quick piece of toast or two? Can you eat an apple real quick? Get in a banana real quick? For me, if I don't have like, I'll throw down that protein first. But if I don't have carbs like pretty soon after, my blood sugar will tank. I'll start to get shaky and nauseous and like not feel great. So I don't always, for me, it's not always like a huge, big sit down breakfast. Sometimes for me, it's this like very disjointed, like throw a protein shake down, then a half an hour later, I might have two pieces of toast. Then an hour later, I might have a banana, like while I'm dropping Sloan off at school. So I'm kind of like that too, where it's not always this big sit down breakfast meal. Alessandra, I think you're different, that you have like your full sit down breakfast. Yeah, I would say as long as you're slamming that protein shake and having some carbs relatively soon after, if that's what works for you and doesn't leave you hangry later on, then that's fine.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I definitely have my full breakfast right after my lift. And this question really is, you don't want to over stress about stuff like this. Like meal timing isn't at the end of the day the biggest rock that we want to focus on. Like overall, your overall daily nutrition is more important, and getting your protein in throughout the day, making sure you're eating enough throughout the day, carbs, fiber, fat, all of that. So I wouldn't hyper focus on this, but definitely pay attention to how you feel. So if you feel like the protein shake and the creatine tides you over until your next meal and it's working for you, great. And if it's not, if you are hangry, like I need to eat very soon after my lift is done, or else I'm just like starving. And then that's when I want to like eat all the things. So it really does depend. It's not something to hyper focus on, but just pay attention to those trends, to your biofeedback, and see what feels best for you. And it might take some experimenting to figure out. But I would say the post-workout meal, really the importance of it comes into play if you're not having anything before your workout. So if you're training fasted, then it's probably a little bit more important to get something in post workout. But if you're
Right.
having something before your workout, you throw down a shake immediately after, it's likely fine.
Yep. Yep. Agree with that. Brooke asked, what program in the app would you recommend for a really busy season? LOL. When workouts need to be under 30 minutes plus days are very active. For context, my next 3 or 4 months are a little wild. We own a resort with a restaurant. Cool. And have 4 kids with no childcare. Easily get over 10,000 steps and 20 plus flights of stairs without trying. I'm cleaning, making beds, serving in a restaurant, trying to keep up with my kids and their activities, still breastfeeding my 10-month-old.
And
Yeah, I want to continue to progress with strength training and cardio, but also make sure I'm recovering well and finding the time. I've followed either Build or Move since January and love both, but they take me about 35 to 40 minutes. And she would love to be under 30 minutes.
so you could continue Build or Move. I don't know how many days per week you want to train. Move is only 3 days. You could just omit the warm up and the plyos in the beginning. Stick to the basic strength stuff because that's going to give you the most bang for your buck.
Yeah,
And I
that'll probably
guarantee
cut that
that'll
10
be
minutes.
a shorter duration for you because the warm up takes 8 minutes or so, depending on how
For
many
the
rounds you
plyos.
personally do. And then the plyos add a few there. So that could cut it down. Or you could honestly do that with any of the programs, like just pick your top 4 exercises of that day of that programming, do those same exercises every week. Like, don't change up what you do every week, but stick to those 4 throughout the block. And that's a great way to still make progress and still do the style of training that you like. So if you enjoy Build and Move and you want to stick with that, cut down the beginning stuff and just get the strength stuff in. That's my advice.
Love that. Meredith said, first of all, I'm loving your app. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I love the
Aw,
podcast and all things Levolution. We love you, Meredith.
I love you.
I'm having a hard time incorporating cardio and HIIT into my routines. My favorite forms of cardio are swimming and dancing. I do anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes of intense dancing from some form of YouTube video, but can't find the time to do true HIIT. I'll do some intervals on the assault bike a few times a week, only for about 3:30 to warm up before lifting. I lift 4 times a week following the physique program. I mean, keep
Sounds
doing
like
what
you're
you're
doing
doing.
it.
Yeah. You're saying you're having a hard time incorporating cardio and HIIT,
You're doing a
but
lot.
20 to 30 minutes of intense dance is cardio. And you mentioned you're doing some intervals on the bike, even though it's only 3.5 minutes. That's
That
fine.
counts. Yeah.
Literally, that's fine. A Tabata protocol is literally 4 minutes.
I think that just really solidifies our episode about HIIT. Like, it doesn't have to be anything
Yep.
crazy. It doesn't have to last you 20 minutes. Like 3 to
Yep.
5 minutes, golden. Push it
Yeah.
hard during those intervals, but you're good.
And to me, like in a situation like this, where she's like, my favorite forms of cardio are swimming and dancing, I'm never going to be like, well, if you took that 30 minutes of dancing that you usually like and you did that on, and you did sprints instead, like I'm never going to advise that just so you could get in the HIIT sessions when like that's a form, like
You
swimming and dancing is a form
enjoy.
of cardio that you enjoy. Just keep
Yeah.
doing that. Stick
Yep.
to that. Meredith, you're crushing it. Keep doing what you're doing.
Agreed.
Chelsea asked, 3 months postpartum, and I've been following the Postpartum Forever program in the app, as well as seeing a pelvic floor PT. Go girl.
Yes.
I've been avoiding lifting heavy as per the PT's recommendation. Is it still beneficial to continue the program / lifting if I'm not progressing the weights much? I.e. using a 20-pound kettlebell for goblet squats for weeks 7 through 14 and never increasing the weight.
I'd be curious to hear why they're telling you not to progress. Because that's kind of I hate to go against a professional, but that's a
I
little bit
know.
of a red flag to me. Like,
Maybe
because
she has some pelvic floor dysfunction that they're trying to work around. Maybe she's got pelvic organ prolapse. I mean,
true,
you should still be able to
you should still
progress
want
with
to,
certain
you
exercises.
should still focus on progressive overload. And I think this is a great example to remind you guys that heavy is relative. So maybe in their eyes, they're telling you not to go back to barbell squats yet, or something that's a little bit more intensive, like maybe your pelvic floor just isn't ready for that yet. But to say not to implement
Don't
progressive
lift
overload
heavy.
in any aspect is, I hesitate there, because I'm like,
Yeah.
everything we know about your pelvic floor, about even things like pelvic floor dysfunction, prolapse, they heal by your pelvic floor getting stronger. So
Right.
that's my only, I need more context here to kind of give you the best advice, but I would be weary of that. But your question was, should I continue? Yeah, it's not going to hurt anything by you. I mean, you don't want to
Not
stop,
progressing.
right?
Yeah. She was like, is it still beneficial if I'm not increasing weight? Like, yeah, strength training is still going to be beneficial for
Yes.
you. It's still going to be health enhancing, but yeah, I would be curious about
I would
pushing back
ask
a
them,
little.
like tell them to, if they haven't explained it to you, I would ask the pelvic floor PT why. But yeah, you don't want to stop altogether, because then you're gonna have to kind of start back up from the beginning when you are ready to lift. So don't
Also,
stop
keep in mind, Postpartum Forever was built
with a
with
pelvic floor
Dr. Jen
PT.
Morgan, who's a
Yeah.
pelvic floor PT who helped build out that program with you.
Yeah.
Like, it is pelvic floor PT approved.
Yes. So I mean, maybe you haven't shared with your PT exactly what the programming is. So maybe some more communication is needed there, but I would just be wary of that. And that's
Yeah.
something that I've not changed my mind on, but like have learned over the years, is that your pelvic floor and your core need progressive overload. They need to get stronger if you want to reduce the symptoms of incontinence, of prolapse, of just doing your activities of daily living, like all the things that we do. If you want to avoid those symptoms during your daily life, you have to strength train, you have to get stronger, you have to slowly progress. So I think that's just something a lot of postpartum women and a lot of people in general just don't understand fully, because they see a lot of these like trendy pelvic floor exercises on Instagram. I know we've all seen them everywhere. And yeah, that's a good place to start, is with the things that you're lying on the floor and are very simplified, but you still need to strength train to overcome a lot of those things.
Yes, ma'am. All right, we got two more questions. Ellie asked, how might you know if you're dealing with hormone issues affecting fat loss or just poor habits? Mentally, one feels like they're eating balanced and sticking to exercise, but no weight changes. On the other hand, PCOS has been diagnosed. Is coaching the right move, or someone more specialized in hormone health? Someone commented under that and said, this is a great question, wondering the same. I'm going to set up an appointment soon with a doctor who specializes in hormones.
I think,
I could do a whole
go
episode on
ahead.
this
I know
question.
you
I
got lots of
know. I'm like,
thoughts.
how long do we have? So this is a challenging question for me, because I'm a bit jaded by and maybe biased as well toward my own PCOS experience and that diagnosis. For me, it was evident that I was having some sort of hormone issue, because it felt like for me nothing was working as it should. I was in what should have been a deficit for my body, and I couldn't lose weight, despite not really being in what should have been maintenance calories for me. I was gaining weight on. I was really puffy, really inflamed. My body hurt. And I could just see it everywhere. Like, I had a ton of inflammation. And I know that word is very buzzwordy, but if you've been following me since like 2019 when I had PCOS, you will know what I mean by puffy and inflamed. And so I couldn't lose weight. I was struggling with like anxiety and depression for the first time ever. My like leggings were not fitting. I hadn't changed anything about my macros or my training, and I was up 30 pounds. So that for me was like, something is wrong. And I know it's not habit based, because I track macros, I train,
I
I
was just
sleep
going to
well, I
say,
get
you were
8+ hours every
tracking,
night.
you were
Right.
doing the things. You weren't
Yeah.
just
I was
eating
already doing
clean
the things.
or
I was living a
assuming that you were
healthy.
eating okay, which I think
Exactly.
is a key. I wanted to just
Yep.
highlight that.
Yes, absolutely. Like, I was getting 8+ hours of sleep. I was walking the 10,000 plus steps per day. I was doing my cardio, strength training 4, 5, 6 times a week. The shift for me was going off of birth control, which was kind of what I assume was what the catalyst was for what was about to ensue in the following months. So for me, I just knew something was wrong. Like I was like, I'm doing all the things that I've always been doing. I haven't changed anything. The only thing that did change was I came off of hormonal birth control. So there must be some sort of hormone, something happening as my body is either readjusting after birth control or like learning to produce estrogen on its own for the first time again. And so my first, I waited a few months, tried to continue doing things on my own, eventually went to an OB who suspected that I had PCOS, saw another OB who did some lab work. There's so many other details here, but I'm trying to keep it fairly brief. Saw another OB who was supposed to be one of the best like reproductive endocrinologists. So like first OB, to put this as simply as I can, OBGYNs are not people that specialize in hormones. Let me just put that out there first and foremost. They do your vaginal wellness care. They are not hormone experts. So for the person who wrote in, Amanda, I want to see a doctor who specializes in hormones, that's going to be an endocrinologist. That's not going to be an OB. You could look for specifically for a reproductive endocrinologist. They're typically taking a deeper look into hormones. That's who you would end up potentially doing like IVF treatments with, fertility treatments with, and so on. I then sought out that doctor. I did not have a great experience there either personally. So Ellie, one of the things that I want you to keep in mind if you go the medical route is that the standard treatment for PCOS is metformin and birth control. Metformin would be for the insulin resistance component. And birth control would be to shut your hormones off component, because if you are not having high androgens, high testosterone, et cetera, then you wouldn't have the symptoms that are associated with PCOS. So the standard treatment is let's give you metformin to help with the insulin resistance, and let's give you birth control to just kind of shut down hormone production. And then you won't be having the associated symptoms with that hormone kind of dysregulation like high testosterone. For me, that was not the route that I wanted to take. If that's the route you choose, by all means, I would encourage you to look into that and do as much research you can on both of those routes to see if that's the path and outcomes that you're wanting. For me, I was like 26 at the time and wanted to came off birth control so I could have babies and get a period back. And so going on birth control made zero sense to me whatsoever, because I was like, why would I go on birth control if I want to get pregnant? I was like, oh, well, you'll just come back and do IVF, when you want to get pregnant. And I was like, that doesn't really sound like it makes any sense to me personally. And I was young and I wasn't in a rush, in a sense. I know that spending 2+ years to then try and get your periods back on your own and work with different practitioners and do, hormone healing, as cheesy as that sounds, and gut healing on your own. I know if I was 35 and in a big rush to maybe have babies or felt like my, biological clock was ticking, maybe I would have chosen a different route, but I was young and I love to prove people wrong. And that was a big part of it too, which you guys have heard me talk about. So bringing this back a little bit, be prepared. If you're going to go see a doctor, be prepared that, metformin and birth control is the treatment that is taught in med school. And so that is the treatment that will be suggested for you. As for Amanda saying you want to set up an appointment with a doctor who specializes in hormones, probably whether it's the OB or whether it's the reproductive endocrinologist, my guess is they're going to suggest the same things. Personally, when I didn't get the help that I wanted in the more conventional route, i.e., you said health and fitness, I guess you know what you're doing.
I cannot believe that to this day that they said that to you.
Kills me every time. Anyway, without going off on another tangent there, I think that working with a coach can actually be really, really helpful here, especially if you don't have the habits laid down that can help reverse some of the symptoms that you're having. Because you mentioned in your initial question, Ellie, how do you know if you're dealing with hormone issues or just poor habits? So that tells me right there that like maybe we aren't potentially eating how we should be eating, sleeping how we should be sleeping, training how we should be training, recovering how we should be recovering. Because if you're suspecting that poor habits might be at play, then I think that's absolutely the first thing to look at. And I know that not everyone loves the like buzzwordy term of like root cause, but for me, that was the approach that I wanted to take. It was like a root cause approach, because when I basically made it my mission to learn everything I possibly could about PCOS. And one of the things that I learned was that PCOS is really just an umbrella term for a set of symptoms. And so the symptoms didn't cause your PCOS. You just have this set of symptoms, which are a result of other behaviors or lack of behaviors. And then that set of symptoms kind of gets this umbrella term. Someone got really mad when I said on Instagram that I reversed my PCOS, but they're like, you can't reverse PCOS. I'm like, it's literally just a set of symptoms. So if I no longer have those symptoms and none of my blood work, none of my sonograms, none of my symptoms show PCOS anymore, I don't have PCOS anymore. And I've had doctors say to me, like, you were diagnosed with PCOS. You don't have any of that now in your blood work, your labs, your sonos, et cetera. So the best way I could describe it is like hypertension is high blood pressure. If you start exercising and eating better and you no longer have high blood pressure, you no longer have the diagnosis of hypertension. So it absolutely is something that can be reversed with lifestyle behaviors. But it does take a lot of work, and it likely will take working with a practitioner who does understand that, or a coach who does understand what is happening hormonally, what is happening from an inflammation standpoint, a testosterone standpoint, a DHEA, high androgen standpoint, and so on. And I'll plug Levolution here with that, because we have several coaches on our team who can support you through that. We have a lot of clients with PCOS, probably because a lot of them have followed my own journey and have made their way here. But we also have coaches who specifically specialize in hormone, gut, and autoimmune health, and registered dietitians as well, who can medically walk you through those things from a medical nutrition therapy standpoint. So I, from my own experience and from our own clients' experience, am team, if you don't want to go the metformin birth control route, having a qualified coach can be really, really helpful.
Yeah. And we did podcast with both Courtney and Ari. So if you want to go back, I don't know that we talked about PCOS. I think we did, maybe in Courtney's a little bit. But both of those podcasts were really just a great, if you want to kind of get to know our team a little bit more and who can potentially help you with this from Levolution, those would be a great place to start to listen to as well.
Yeah. And also, good luck with that, Ellie. I know it's really frustrating, and don't hesitate to reach out with more questions. I'm happy to help run you through that. It was, for me, a really dark time, and I'm happy to shed some light on it. So, all right, last question here. I saw it. Where'd you go? Hey, Alessandra had a recent post stating this is from Amanda, stating if you're not jumping, you're aging, wondering how to start implementing that into my own workout routine. I've been a consistent lifter for years, but don't have much experience with the athletics that plyometrics involve. 1 year postpartum with baby 2, do not want to overdo anything with my pelvic floor. My cardio consists of zone 2 work, like walks, elliptical, and biking. Sorry if you've covered this already. I'm about a month behind on the podcasts.
I don't think we've touched on it too much. But if you're not sure how to program it, I would encourage you to get a program that has it in it. It doesn't have to be our programs. I know there's specific plyometric programs out there that you can implement into your own routine. So I would definitely start there, because you do kind of have to, like, you can't just start doing intense athletic plyometrics that you see all over Instagram. Like, it is still something that has to be progressed via progressive overload, and you have to kind of start from the ground up with some very basic things. But you know, if you're looking for something to just throw in here and there, like even just going to grab a ladder that you can throw on the ground and doing some ladder plyos, which can basically be beginner. If you look up on YouTube, just ladder plyometrics, that's a cheap, easy way to kind of get your body moving. But it's definitely something that you don't want to just start off by doing like the crazy things, because you will get injured. You will either get injured or just not have a fun time because they're hard. So I would start with the basics. I mean, even if you don't want to pay for a program, there's probably tons on YouTube that you can implement into your own programming if you're not following along in the app. But I do program them in both move and build, and in a level that anybody could do. There are regressions in there too. So that would be my advice. But I definitely think most people should be doing them. And it doesn't have to be every session. It could be just once per week, throwing in some box jumps, like jumping in some sort of way or doing some sort of explosive work, med ball slams, like here and there. It's going to be the best thing that you can do. And it's great that you're already doing the strength and the cardio to start.
Side note, that gets me so much more winded than like anything else, like any kind of jumping. Yeah. Any kind of jumping, plyos, med ball slams, box jumps. That beats the hell out of me, like cardiovascularally.
They're hard. And it's funny because like when you do see them on Instagram of people doing them, it's like, I can do that. It looks so easy. And you do it. You do it and you feel like the most unathletic person to exist.
Yes.
So
jump rope. Jump
rope is a great one. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be like crazy fancy. It could be literally just jumping up and down. So,
literally.
But 1 year, she said she was 1 year postpartum.
Yeah, 1 year postpartum.
You should be assuming you've been strength training and doing cardio, you're in a good place to do this. If you're having pelvic floor symptoms as a result of jumping, then at 1 year postpartum, then we have to work on your core and your pelvic floor a little bit more first, but just kind of ease into it, progress it like you would for strength, and good luck.
Yeah. All right, cool. Those were great questions, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I get to wrap up the episode today because George is not here.
Can you hold down the fort?
Thank you guys. If you've been listening, I'm going to put on my Josh voice. If you guys have been listening for these 3 episodes, leave us a review. He doesn't say as much as I'm saying right now. Leave us a review and a nice one, please, or just like click the 5 stars. You don't even need to get super fancy and leave something. If you hated this episode, don't tell us. You could DM us, but don't leave a public review that says this is stupid, because that's just not nice. You know, didn't your mom ever teach you got nothing nice to say? Don't say it. No. Anyway, Alessandra, where can they find you?
I'm at Alessandra Skutnik.
I'm at Joelle Samantha, and everything else you need is linked in the show notes.